Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is enjoying their lunch. I'll ask you to be seated, and we're going to continue with our program. In the meantime, if you haven't had a chance, you can answer this Slido question up there, is how you were celebrating Pride this year, just to get you back in the zone. I'm not entirely sure, but whoever answered Padam Padam, is that not the slang for Paris? Isn't that like what Edith Piaf meant? So are you going to Paris? Or is your heartbeat? Okay.
It's a Kylie song.
Oh, it's a Kylie song. I guess it just depends on what generation you are. I went with Edith Piaf.
Came out last week.
I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I like whoever said they're celebrating Pride by too much. And I also like attending an awesome summit in Kingston, which it is also, I think most people do know this, we're aware that it is Pride this weekend in Kingston, so. Mischief. All right, well, let's get started. We want to move on with our program, so thank you for contributing to the Slido question. Bringing in Pride donuts from a local bakery to entire team. That's actually super nice. I love all of these different things, and I like the ones attending the summit. Okay, so let's get started. We have a full afternoon left for you. So up next, I would like to introduce Prue, who is our Manager of Membership Engagement for Supplier Diversity, and she is going to introduce our next round of diverse suppliers. Thank you, Prue.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome again to the CGLCC's Global Business Summit. Some of you might know me from the party train. I was the party conductor on the train, okay? So my name is Prue, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm the manager of programs and special projects at CGLCC, that is Supplier Diversity, and the Out for Business program, which is our youth entrepreneurship program. So earlier today, AJ talked about the Supplier Diversity program, so I won't get into the details. But at CGLCC, we believe that diversity isn't just a buzzword. By championing supplier diversity, we ensure everyone gets a seat at the table, even the cool kids who were never invited. And our youth entrepreneurship program is pumping up the next generation of business tycoons, moguls, and supplying them with tools, resources, and not so secret potions they need to conquer the world. So don't worry, we promise not to create a legion of mini Elons. But yeah, hopefully, good ones. And that being said, our next lot of certified suppliers are ready to showcase their business in a 2-minute pitch format. So please find them in the virtual matchmaking event on June 20th. You can snap a picture of the QR code on the screen to register as a supplier and buyer as well. So I would like to welcome our first certified supplier to the stage, Gavin Armstrong.
Thank you. So, iron deficiency is the world's largest nutritional challenge, negatively impacting the lives of over 2 billion people around the planet, mainly women and children. Signs and symptoms of iron deficiency range from dizziness, fatigue, headaches, but it can reduce your cognitive development in children, and in severe cases, it can actually lead to death. The World Bank estimates that iron deficiency takes $100 billion out of the global economy every single year. The main solution for iron deficiency are iron supplement pills. These are unsustainable, expensive, and they have some really nasty side effects, which lead to very low compliance rates. We need a simple solution for this complex global problem. We need the Lucky Iron Fish. So the Lucky Iron Fish is a simple cooking tool that adds natural and healthy iron to your meals. Simply boiling the Lucky Iron Fish for 10 minutes can add 6 to 8 milligrams of healthy and needed iron to your diet. And it can be reused every single day for up to 5 years, making it incredibly cost-effective and sustainable. Now, it's shaped like a fish because we started in Cambodia, and we were using an iron disc. And though it was effective, women said, that looks like trash from the street, I'm not putting it in my food. But fish are lucky in Cambodian culture, so we shaped the disc like a fish, and suddenly everybody wanted to use it because they thought it would bring luck to their household. And then when they felt better, they said it was the luck of the fish that did that. So that's where the name Lucky Iron Fish comes from. You can buy the Lucky Iron Fish for yourself on our website, luckyironfish.com. And if you do get one, we take a portion of that sale and put it towards donating units for free to families in need around the world. To date, we have sold over 300,000 units in 60 countries, helping improve the lives of over 1 million people, and we're just getting started. So thank you so much for this opportunity. If you have any questions, come find me. Together, we can put a fish in every pot. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. I'm going to get one of those fish. So, the iron fish. So next one is Jade from Ivy Dean Consulting.
Hi there, my name is Jack Brosser. Je m'appelle Jack Brosser. I use they, them pronouns, or les pronoms yel et lui en français avec les accords masculins. I've worked in the nonprofit sector for about a decade. My career started when I served as the co-founder and executive director of the Northern Mosaic Network, an LGBTQ youth center based in Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories, where I was born and raised. I ended up working in the LGBTQ community sector for the next 10 years, eventually bringing me to Regina, Saskatchewan. And during my time, I used to get really frustrated because I would have to hire consultants from corporate consulting firms that didn't really understand the nonprofit sector or share the values that I had as a leader of an equity-focused nonprofit. So after years and years of living with that issue, I decided to launch my business, Ivy and Dean Consulting, a bilingual company named after my mother and grandmother. With an office in Yellowknife and in Regina, Ivy and Dean is on a mission to bring social justice and equity into the nonprofit boardroom. We offer governance, board development, project coordination, and community consultation services to small and medium-sized nonprofits. I often like to say that we're sort of a jack of all trades kind of firm, and we do all of this with a focus on serving non-metropolitan Canada, mostly within Northern and Prairie Canada. The nonprofit sector in Saskatchewan is a $4 billion industry, and in the Northwest Territories, almost a $200 million industry. And both of those underserved markets deserve to be considered and served. In small cities across the country, nonprofits often have to rely on either local corporate consulting firms that don't specialize in nonprofits, or a nonprofit-focused consulting firm, but from a major city like Toronto, Vancouver, or Montreal. We bridge that gap, and we are proud to provide effective, local, and queer-informed services to nonprofits in underserved parts of the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack. Next up is Laura Whiteland from Inclusive Financial Planning.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Whiteland. I'm the owner and principal financial planner with Inclusive Financial Planning. It's a firm I started a year ago with the goal of making financial advice more accessible and welcoming to Canadians. So what started off as a mission to provide financial advice at a private wealth level that is usually inaccessible to those that don't have millions of dollars. I created this fee-for-service advice-only financial planning firm. So I work with people regardless of their circumstances to help them solve the problems that they face. And what I'm here today to look into is expanding that vision to assisting financial institutions with the models and the practices that I've developed working with clients. It's not easy to navigate financial services for the vast majority of folks, especially those that don't fit into those traditional models. Anyone who's ever tried to deal with a bank and doesn't necessarily fit into a box can probably feel that. So as one of the first trans financial planners and portfolio managers in Canada, I have a unique perspective that I'm hoping to bring to financial institutions to break down some of those barriers and assist advisors in actually getting to know their clients, understanding what they need, and learning to listen beyond just what's in front of them and getting past the hang-ups and issues that people bring in with them, because everyone has their own goals and beautiful dreams that they want to explore, and economics is how we achieve them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. I just want to take a minute to appreciate folks who are eating lunch and trying to not make any noise. So I can hear the click in between, but that's really kind of you. Next up is Ren Navarro from Beer Diversity. Ren, welcome.
Hey friends, I am Ren Navarro, she, her, and I once upon a time was a corporate goon. And it led me to drink, as it does, and I found my way into craft beer. So I was selling craft beer for several years, and someone said to me, how does it feel to be a black queer woman in beer? And I said, I don't know. And everyone in this room knows if you get asked that question, it's because you're the only one doing it of your group. And so I started asking the question, why am I the only one? Because when I drink with my friends. And so I started asking questions and looking around and created this company out of necessity. And so Beer Diversity asks the questions of, where are you? Why aren't you here? And so I started working with beer, hence the name. If I could do it over again, I would change it. But it was about having real conversations with people. So asking the questions that you can't normally ask in a room. I am your black friend, please ask me anything. And having conversations where people can say, I got it wrong, what do I do now? So the company is about doing keynotes, it's about sessions for staff, it is about workshops, it's public-facing pieces, it's also doing beer tastings. But it is so much more. It is really about making the advancements in diversity and defining it. We talk about diversity as this giant nebulous concept. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out what it is for your company, what it means for your neighbors. What does community mean? Let's figure that out. So I've been doing this since 2018. I'm very thankful for being able to do it. And really, thanks for having me here. This is fantastic. So thank you. You can find me on Instagram, beer_diversity, where I do fight with people on the internet. But again, thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ren. Next up is Daniel from Robertson and Company.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm so grateful to be here and to be joining all of you today. It's a pleasure to be representing Robertson and Company. My name is Dan, my pronouns are he, him. I'm with my colleague Maria, whose pronouns are she, her. Robertson specializes in accounting and finance recruitment. Personally, I lead our accounting and finance recruitment division, and Maria leads our recruitment outsourcing division. Robertson has been a part of the CGLCC for many years, and we were actually recognized last year as the 2022 LGBT+ Business of the Year at last year's gala. Nominated, thank you, nominated by our partner BMO. We've been recruiting people on a small scale and as an outsourced division for over 25 years now. Robertson has evolved into a specialized recruitment firm that operates in every department imaginable, but we also operate to solve your deeper business issues and bring you greater value. Let me explain. We can build your company's need for DEI into every one of our transactions. For example, if you're looking to hire an accounting manager, we'll source accounting manager candidates that identify as DEI. This can be done in finance, IT, sales, accounting, marketing, executive search, C-suite executives, board members, and the list truly goes on. We can do this for a singular search, or we can build out an entire DEI hiring program. This is what we mean about creating deeper business value in hiring, aligning your need for the best talent to your DEI hiring goals. By doing this, you'll be supporting the DEI talent supply chain. I look forward to chatting and connecting with each of you about your talent needs. By all means, please come find myself or my colleague Maria right up in the front corner over there after this to chat a little bit more. Thank you so much.
Five seconds over, but okay. People these days. Okay. I know. Jeff from Culture Catalyst. Hi, Jeff.
I think I could stand right here. No, I'll go up. Right? Wow, I like that. Wow. That's the reaction I get in every room, not really. Anyway, picture it. Imagine a world where everyone can live a good life regardless of the original circumstances, where tolerance isn't just about, where diversity isn't just about tolerance, but it's about actually embracing uniqueness, right? Sounds like Star Trek, right? 24th century stuff, yeah? I know we have some fans in the audience of that, but this is why I created Culture Catalyst Inc. I help SMEs across Canada with their DEI training, consulting, as well as recruitment. We know that Canada is in a labor crunch. It's in a labor crisis, really, and it's going to be a chronic labor shortage for many years. So we know that SMEs, which is like over 90% of Canadian businesses, have unique challenges with attraction, with retention, as well as managing their diverse teams. And also realizing how important inclusion is, right? So we know that inclusive workplaces are more productive, right? We had that productivity problem stated earlier today during the economic update. We know that inclusive teams are more innovative, and at the end of the day, they're more profitable. So the business case is clear. So what we do, we specialize in recruitment, as well as a lot of training and also DEI consulting. Our recruitment services gives leaders that confidence that they can find the right talent at the right time. Our training, live, in person, or virtual, really helps enable teams to promote inclusion and work more inclusively. And also our consulting gives leaders and owners a roadmap towards, to furthering their inclusion efforts. So, and we've worked with organizations all across the country, from nonprofits in Vancouver to tech companies in Toronto to hospitality organizations in Ottawa, where we're all based. And yeah, so if you're here and you're ready to inclusify your organization, you're ready to at least continue your efforts, I'd be really happy to connect with you here on LinkedIn. And thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. So that was the last of it. We will have another slot around 4 o'clock, and please stay here for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Prue and everybody. So next, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to hand out a couple of awards and recognize some folks in our network. And here to do that is Mark Scholenberg, who is the Director of Strategic Initiatives at RBC, and he is also the Chair of the CGLCC Board. Please welcome Mark.
Perfect. Thanks, Lauren. It's hard to go after hearing about some great businesses there. So thanks for bearing with me. But very excited to talk about our Supplier Diversity Awards. And I'm here on behalf of Kellogg. Deborah, who's normally here from Kellogg, wasn't able to come here today. But on behalf of CGLCC, so thankful about the long-standing partnership that we've had with Kellogg Company for the past 10 years. They've been a huge supporter of supplier diversity in Canada for 2SLGBTQI plus folks for over 10 years, and they've been supporting these awards for a long time. Now, this first award that we're handing out today is the 2SLGBTQI plus Certified Supplier of the Year. This award recognizes the participation, efforts, and success of a 2SLGBTQI plus business enterprise certified through CGLCC's Supplier Diversity Program, and is known and recognized for maximizing their certification. So this year's recipient has been an active member of the CGLCC community since they were certified in 2021. This recipient has demonstrated unwavering commitment through active participation in our programming and trade missions. Their recent expansion in Vancouver, coupled with their innovative approach of producing tote bags from fabric offcuts, it showcases their dedication to growth and environmental sustainability, and they exemplify excellence in both business practices and social responsibility, making them truly deserving of this esteemed recognition. So on behalf of CGLCC and Kellogg Company, please help me to congratulate the 2023 Certified 2SLGBTQI plus Certified Supplier of the Year Award, Canvases, and accepting the award on their behalf is the founder, Stanley Wu. Stanley's not here in person at the summit, but we have a video thanking him. And I see a thumbs up, so over to Stanley.
Hello, friends. We hope you're having a great summer so far. We are overwhelmed with gratitude and humbled by the honor of receiving the Certified Supplier of the Year award. I'm sorry that I'm unable to be there with you to celebrate this esteemed CGLCC's team and board of directors for recognizing the effort we put into our work. In 2022, we had the privilege of joining the trade mission with CGLCC to Las Vegas. This opportunity opened our eye to the true meaning of being a certified supplier. We had the chance to network with extraordinary certified suppliers from both Canada and the US. The knowledge and connection we gained during that time have been incredible. I want to thank Daryl and his team at CGLCC for their tireless work and support for 2SLGBTQI+ entrepreneurs. They have paved the way for countless individuals like ourselves to succeed. Their commitment to fostering inclusivity, diversity, and equity within the business community is truly remarkable, and we are grateful for the impact they continue to make. There are numerous individuals who have contributed significantly to our success and who deserve to share in this award. Without them, this honor would not have been possible. To our talented team members, I would like to express my deepest gratitude for your commitment, hard work, and attention to detail. They have been vital in delivering exceptional results to our clients. To our clients, thank you for your support, patience, and understanding. As a small business, we recognize that there are limitations to what we can accomplish within a day. Nonetheless, your continued trust and belief in our services have been instrumental in our growth and success. To the incredible friends we have made over the past few years in our industry, thank you for believing in us and providing us with invaluable support and guidance. Your expertise in navigating the complexity of our industry have been crucial in our ability to thrive. This moment is a testament to the dedication and hard work of our entire team. We stand committed to pushing the boundaries of what's possible, fostering growth, and creating opportunity for others. Enjoy the rest of the summit and have a safe journey home. Thank you.
Stanley for that video. Now, before I proceed with announcing the next award, and I saw Cass here with the award somewhere. You'll see them in a second, but I do want to recognize Patrick Hunter, Art and Design, who's the artist that created the artwork for the awards. And oh, I see that's what it is there. It's a beautiful awards. So the artwork's designed by Patrick Hunter Art and Design, who's a certified supplier with CGLCC. And also thank you to Akasha Art Projects, the amazing talent behind the framing of the art, and also a longtime supporter of CGLCC programming. So thank you both for the beautiful work that you do and helping make these awards that much extra special. So thank you. The next award recognizes the outstanding efforts of an individual, group, organization, or corporation in raising awareness and support of CGLCC's Supplier Diversity Program, and also raising the awareness of supplier diversity more broadly. The recipient of this year's 2SLGBTQI+ Supplier Diversity Program Ambassador of the Year is an outstanding advocate for CGLCC. They truly understand the value of supplier diversity, and they weave it into all aspects of their organization. This person has been working hard over the past few years to advocate for CGLCC and for the Supplier Diversity Alliance Canada and supplier diversity broadly within their organization and externally. They regularly participate in our programming and encourage other suppliers, corporate partners, and internal colleagues to become further engaged with CGLCC and other partners. And they consistently put up their hand to take part in new opportunities. It's obvious that this person is passionate about diversity and inclusion, entrepreneurship, and supporting our suppliers. So on behalf of CGLCC and Kellogg Company, please help me to congratulate the 2023 Supplier Diversity Program Ambassador of the Year Award recipient, Kayla Maddock, Supplier Diversity Program Manager at Bell. Come on up, Kayla. Excellent. Do you want to come up and say, and then we can get the award to you?
Thank you so much. Wow. Hi, everyone. This is my favorite event. Shh, don't tell people. Wow, thank you. Daryl and everyone at the CGLCC, thank you so much. Being a proud member of this community, this makes it even more meaningful for me, so thank you. I have to say I'm so grateful that this is my career and that I get to work for Bell, a company where I can bring my full, true, authentic self to work every day. So I want to thank my manager, Debbie Resendez de Silva, for her leadership, her support, her guidance, and her trust. And I'd also like to thank everyone within the procurement team, our procurement leadership, and our executive leadership for continuing to support supplier diversity on a daily basis. I also want to thank and give a good shout out to every single person in the room, whether you are a supplier, whether you're Rainbow registered, whether you're advocating for supplier diversity, whether you're advocating for diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and belonging. Thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. Me included, I'm sure some of you might come to events like this, and it's a good reminder that you're not alone, and it can be quite healing at days like this. So when you go back home and you might feel alone, I encourage you to keep bringing your authentic self and to never underestimate the power of being seen. Thank you.
All right, congrats again, Kayla, and that's awesome. Congrats. So thank you again to Kellogg's Company for sponsoring our annual 2SLGBTQI+ Supplier Diversity Awards. I'm now going to introduce Jennifer Cook, Director of Inclusive Trade with EDC, and they're the sponsor of the Exporter of the Year Award. So come on up, Jennifer. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Cook. My pronouns are she, her. And thank you to the CGLCC for such an awesome event. It's so nice to connect with friends, old and new, some I haven't seen in a really long time, and to hear from amazing entrepreneurs and supporters of this great community. For those of you who don't know Export Development Canada, EDC, we're Canada's export credit agency, and our mandate is to help Canadian companies do business successfully in international markets. We do this by equipping Canadian companies with the tools they need to succeed, whether that's trade knowledge, insurance, financing, equity, or business connections. And depending on where your company is along their export journey, hopefully many of you are on that export journey, there's different resources available to support you along the way. As mentioned, I lead an amazing team who's devoted to inclusive trade at EDC. Our team is accountable for increasing the support to Canadian businesses that are owned and led by members of all equity-deserving groups, including those from the 2SLGBTQI community. I'm truly inspired by all diverse entrepreneurs and believe strongly in the untapped potential to grow Canada's economy by empowering more of you all to grow and succeed beyond borders. Through tailored business strategies, we aim to remove the barriers that many of you face and address the unique needs of businesses owned by folks who identify with dimensions of diversity to create an equitable playing field and ensure that you have the same opportunities to benefit from trade and achieve your dreams. We work closely with many partners in the ecosystem supporting diverse businesses, including our long-standing partnership with the Canadian Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce and many other partners who are here in the room today to reach and inspire more entrepreneurs to go global. So now it's my pleasure to present the 2023 2SLGBTQI+ Exporter of the Year Award. And this award recognizes the efforts and success of a 2SLGBTQI+ business enterprise in expanding their business globally. Resources available through EDC and CGLCC's global program, as well as the cross-recognition of diverse certified suppliers across the border, all support entrepreneurs in their international business development strategies and growth. This year's winner is distributing their consumer products across North America, and their dairy-free cheese is the #3 selling plant-based cheese in the United States. This esteemed recognition highlights their remarkable contributions as a business, showcasing their exceptional ability to navigate international markets, forge global partnerships, and drive economic growth through successful export ventures. Their unwavering commitment to quality, innovation, and market expansion has positioned them as a true trailblazer in the field, and honestly, your accomplishments serve as an inspiration to all aspiring exporters. On behalf of EDC, it gives me really great pleasure to present the CGLCC 2SLGBTQI+ Exporter of the Year Award to Nuts for Cheese. So please welcome to the stage their founder, Margaret Coons.
Wow, hello everyone. Thank you so much to the CGLCC and to EDC for this wonderful award, and it's just so incredible to be here with you all today. I was thinking this morning about what to say in accepting this award, as you know, it relates to my journey as an entrepreneur and a queer person and an exporter. And I just think there's so many times in life and in business when you're faced with so much fear, and you really have to take a huge risk and choose optimism and really kind of trust your intuition and lean into just hoping that the best will materialize kind of time and time again. And I really think that's been a huge part of my entrepreneurial journey to date. And exporting to the US was a massive learning curve. We launched in the US right in the middle of COVID about 2 years ago. But it also became a game-changing shift in our business, and it's unlocked so much growth for the business, but also for me personally as a CEO and founder in terms of personal development. So as was mentioned, we're now, after 2 years, the third largest plant-based cheese company in our category in the US, but we're also the fastest growing vegan cheese company in the US. As a Canadian company, that's super exciting for us, and thank you. So if you haven't tried our products yet, we are available in about 2,000 stores in Canada. So we're in, Sobeys and Metro and, all kinds of really incredible retailers. But we're also available now in all 50 states, which has been very exciting. So being involved with the CGLCC, both as an entrepreneur and on behalf of my business, has been absolutely another kind of game-changing shift. And I just mostly want to thank everyone who's led the way towards being a 2SLGBTQI+ business owner a really supportive experience. And I can't honestly say in words how much being a part of this organization means to me. So congratulations to all the other award recipients, and happy Pride, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love a few awards to get the afternoon going. Up next, we have our next panel, but I'm going to leave that to one of our longstanding partners to introduce. I'd like to ask Eric Lauzon, who is the Director of Community Relations and Partnerships with Air Canada, to come up and introduce our next session. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Bonjour, hello everyone. As a proud corporate member of the CGLCC and sponsor of the 2023 Global Business Summit and Supplier Diversity Forum, Air Canada is proud to present this next panel. DEI, and I'm not going to be the one convincing you, are some of the values that contribute in making Canada the great country that it is. Our strength as an organization lies also in the celebration of these values and in what enriches our workplace. Air Canada also seeks partners with organizations and suppliers that are not only delivering exceptional value through products and services, but also are aligned with our fundamental DEI principles that are, 1, provide a work environment where all employees feel respected and recognized, help employees achieve their full potential and highlight all employees' unique contributions within diversified and inclusive work environment, and ensure that our customers recognize themselves in our employee demographics. And here are some of the initiatives that makes Air Canada walk the talk. Implementation of same-sex partner benefits back in the 90s, one of the first airlines to do so. LGBTQ2+ sensitivity training to frontline employees and management. The use of pronouns on email signatures and business cards. The implementation of gender-neutral uniform policies. the inclusion of non-binary identification during flight bookings and onboard passenger announcements, so no more ladies and gentlemen or mesdames et messieurs since 2019, and develop employee engagement opportunities in Pride festivals across Canada. Now, more than ever, any company that wants to realize the full potential of its employees should be taking action to create safe and inclusive workplaces where people from underrepresented groups can achieve their full potential. All business leaders must intentionally address discrimination and build a culture where everyone feels valued and heard. Throughout this panel discussions, we'll make the business case for DEI while also giving you strategies on practicing inclusive leadership and recognizing bias. Please join me in welcoming our next speakers to our session on building and supporting an inclusive labor force. So Jade Pichette, Director of Programs, Pride at Work Canada, the moderator of today's session. Okay. Welcome, Jade. Dr. Leland Harper, DEI consultant at Leland Harper Consulting. Mandy Farmer, CEO at Accent Inns. Who will be joining by Zoom. Deirdre Pike, Principal Facilitator at Queer Positive Power. Hi, Deirdre. And Kevin McShan's motivational speaker.
Gotta take the right angle. One piece first. You want certain one? Okay.
Is that okay? Right. Well, welcome everybody. It's very nice to be with all of you today, and to have this wonderful panel that the CGLCC put together of amazing leaders in the DEI space. So I'm Jade Pichette. I use the pronouns they and them. I'm from Pride at Work Canada, and I'm so grateful to be with all of you today. So one of the things that I know many of us are thinking about is this labor shortage. And we hear about a labor shortage in Canada that is affecting beyond Canada, but especially here. And, you know, I really want to know from this panel if you could talk about this current situation of a labor shortage and why you think there is a shortage to begin with. So Leland, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I brought statistics somewhere. I have a terrible memory, so I have to bring papers. But one of the things we're seeing right now is, if I look at the unemployment to job vacancy ratio, if we look back to about 2016, the number of unemployed individuals per vacant job was about 4.5. Going into the last quarter of 2022, it was down to 1.4. So that means if you have a vacant job and you put it out there for folks, you could reasonably expect 4 to 5 people a few years ago. Now you can expect 1 to 2 to show up for interviews or to apply for that job. So a lot of companies, a lot of organizations are really dealing with those issues and trying to staff not just their positions, but staff their positions with the correct people. And that's difficult for a lot of businesses. So one of the reasons we're seeing that, there's a number of reasons. One is baby boomers are starting to retire. Right, I'm 35. My mother just she got forced into retirement a little bit early because of COVID. Baby boomers are going to semi-retirement. Millennials are becoming a large part of the workforce, and millennials are just very socially conscious. They know that it's a workers' market, employees' market, so they can choose to go somewhere else for higher pay or better working conditions or both of those things. And that's just very, very tough for employers right now.
Mandy, who's joining us virtually, you are an employer, so I was wondering if you might have some insight as to this labor shortage from an employer perspective.
Definitely. We are seeing in the tourism industry, it's about 50,000 job vacancies in the tourism industry in British Columbia alone. Nationally, what we've heard from our industry is there's about 300,000 workers that we are short. What that means is that we do not have the people to clean the rooms, man the front desk, all of that. And so it is definitely a tight labor market out there. I'm hearing from all my colleagues that they're just not able to put all their rooms out for inventory.
So we're definitely hearing that although some are labor conscious in terms of the next generation of what we can do, we're also just seeing a lack of unskilled labor as well. Although I believe all labor is skilled, to be honest, but I was wondering, Deirdre, you have some Canadian statistics that you wanted to share with us.
Oh, no, not really statistics as much as, I just was thinking those statistics were from the U.S., I think. Is that?
No,
were those were good, yeah, then that aligned anyway. So, but the facts are around aging out, and those people who are aging out just didn't offer up enough children to the world to fulfill the workforce needs. And so it's happening at both ends. And we know one number is at least two more decades, 20 years of this. And we can also look at globalization and the policies around the world, like in the one family, one child in China and so on. These are all, the ramifications for China itself, if they're afraid of losing their workforce, imagine how afraid we are. And what we're doing is replacing with more and more temporary workers. We have more temporary foreign workers than we do permanent almost. And a lot of my work was, trying to decrease the number of organizations who required Canadian experience. And the more that we do that, the more that organizations actually recognize that experience is experience, and across sectors. I did this with engineers and professions where in fact the stats are different, actually, Jade, around the, I agree about skill, non-skill, but as we talk about that, it really is, and that the people without degrees are finding it harder to find work, and we need to to respond to that in every way that we can. And I'd say reaching out and making sure that we're creating workplaces that are good for newcomers, and that means honoring their experiences in every step of life. If you survived a refugee camp, you've got miles on me. So, even though I have Canadian experience or whatever. So there's lots to say how that could change.
Yeah, we've also seen plenty of people within Canada who've been kept out of the labor market. And so as a fellow disabled person, Kevin, I was wondering if you might want to speak to the experiences of folks with disabilities.
Yeah, Jade, that's an interesting question coming out of COVID. The Institute of Work and Health tells us that there are more than 745,000 Canadians with disabilities who want to work, but because of a disability, they're being shunned out of the workforce. And, coming out of COVID, and we talk about this labor shortage issue that we're having, and certainly tapping into the market of folks who have a disability certainly gives your business a competitive advantage. Folks with disabilities, if they are given a job, according to the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, they're 72% more likely to remain on the job as a job retention, so you reduce your turnover in that rate. And, attendance is higher of folks with disabilities by 86%, and 92% of folks who have a disability that are infused into the workforce perform higher than their non-disabled counterparts when we look at things like job performance and elevating the prosperity of a workforce. So certainly you'll hear me use the term utilizing or tapping into this untapped labor market, and certainly if you want a competitive advantage as a company or a business owner, tapping into the disabled job market is certainly a great place to start, for sure.
Thank you for that. So what I'm hearing is that although there are some demographic changes happening in the Canadian market, a lot of the labor shortage is somewhat of our own creation, believing in only having Canadian experience, not tapping into the disabled market, making sure making sure you have an inclusive workplace that people actually want to work at. So all of these sound like certain challenges while we're also facing some of the demographic challenges. So I want to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Deirdre, could you tell us how important DEI work is for job seekers and how employers can actually communicate their commitment during hiring processes?
You know, I'm really grateful that younger generations are not willing to put up with the stuff that I did. You know, I've been fired for being a lesbian. I've had to, you know, do this and that to keep a job and so on. And it's, I am really pleased that in many places we've created the opportunity for people to be choosy when it comes to making sure that it's a place where they're going to feel, where people will feel their dignity is respected and that they will be their very best self at work. You know, the closet, really, and yet it still exists. And so it's still so important to be doing more than signaling in June that this is a rainbow organization. It means 365 days of the year, making sure that we're able to you know, be who we are. But it also means recognizing the intersections. And so EDI, you know, sometimes the D is a bit of a problem, you know, and I think equity and inclusion, that it's, you know, maybe for another conversation, but this, you know, we have to be really responsive to the intersections of who people are. And we've missed that in the queer and trans community, if you haven't noticed. So we're now starting to catch up on that, and I think employers need to do that too.
Does anyone else have any other thoughts about DEI and the importance of DEI?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. You know, I think one of the things that we see, you know, we've all been to job interviews, we've all gone into places with our resumes and sat down and talked to folks, and anytime you sit down and talk to these folks at these organizations, it's the greatest organization ever to work for, right? Nobody's ever telling you all the bad stuff about the place that you're trying to work, right? So I think one of the things that organizations need to start doing is, you know, backing that up with substance, right? We see a lot of, you know, this is great, it's a fun place to work, everybody likes working here, all this kind of stuff, but we need more than that. It's in this case, we can talk about what grassroots organizations are you actually supporting financially or with your efforts, with your time, those kind of things, with your energy, with your resources. It can be simple things like changing or making available different interview times, just in case folks have, you know, transit issues or childcare issues, those kind of things. And it's more about showing than telling, right? I think most of us and society at large is kind of past the point of talking. We understand that talk isn't really all that much. And so organizations need to show what they're doing, and that's going to help get people in the door, but furthermore, it's going to help them stay in the organization, right? I'm having talks with a lot of organizations who are saying we're hiring anybody who shows up with a resume or anybody who wants to work, but then they're just out the door 3 or 6 months later because it isn't as it was advertised, right? So I think, again, because it's an employer's or an employee's market, they understand that and they can see that things aren't quite aligned. So it's doing things like aligning those value statements. It's things like showing how they're aligned, hiring panels instead of hiring an individual hiring manager or something. So those kind of things can go a long way.
Yeah, and I'll simply add to that I think one of the things that employers have to do is start opening up the table of inclusion to folks with disabilities and other marginalized groups and sort of pulling out a chair at the table of inclusion. So how do you do that? Like Leland said, you modify the job sort of recruitment process by possibly having a targeted job fair specifically for folks with disabilities. You know, I was recently talking to the accessibility officer for the city of Long Beach, California, and the city had recently implemented their first job sort of fair or bank for folks with disabilities. And one of the things that she said was it provided us a diversified perspective on how to look at changing recruitment processes for city government, elevating folks with disabilities to leadership positions, making sure that they're a part of the hiring process, taking a diversified perspective, and also having them in the room when you're putting together job postings or the way that you're recruiting these individuals, because representation matters. And if you see yourself in a position of leadership, then it leads to a more diversified talent or selection pool for sure.
Thank you.
Does your
Mandy, would you like to join us in that conversation?
Sure, I'd love to jump in on how it is that employers could actually show prospective hires that they are DEI inclusive. And I think one of the best ways that we've done it is by being rainbow registered. This was not an easy process, something that we are extremely proud that we are a queer-friendly business. And it really got into just ways of, areas of opportunity for us to be more queer-friendly when we were going through the accreditation process. So I highly recommend that. We've also got an amazing website called joinourfamjam.com, and it's where we actually showcase stories of DEI and inclusion, so that like some of the other panelists were saying, you actually want to see that we have people with disabilities working in our organization, so that if you're going to be applying for a job here, you're going to feel represented in our organization, and that it is a safe place for you. And then lastly, I think it's really important that as an entire company, we do actually lead with love and live our values constantly every single day, so that we are constantly making this a safe and inclusive workplace.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm hearing a lot in terms of the amount that we need to show the work, and that job seekers need to be able to see the actual work being done, whether that's through hiring panels, whether that's through having a website where you showcase your DEI work, whether that's through making sure that people are represented in leadership positions that are seen as leaders within the organizations. So we've talked about hiring a little bit, but let's talk about the workforce overall. So we often talk about recruitment, and then forget about the retention piece. And so, Kevin, maybe you could start us off on, what do you think employers need to do to build an inclusive workforce? And what do you think they often forget or don't do, but they should?
Well, I think when it comes to retention, it all starts with developing the culture of developing your standards when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you have to, first of all, make the commitment to the process of inclusion. So what does that mean? It means, like we said, making sure your recruitment processes are diverse and fair, but once they're in the organization, it's also important to allow them to really demonstrate their prosperity. And what I mean by that is demonstrating the different ways that they can elevate your business. I used to be the regional ambassador for a project that some of you may know. It's called the Discoverability Network. And the Discoverability Network is the province of Ontario's first online job matching portal for individuals with disabilities and employers to get connected. And one of the slogans of the project was seize the opportunity to advance your business. So how did we do that? We have roundtable discussions on how we continue to make workplace inclusion a priority of our business. We make sure that people with disabilities are in the decisions that affect the entire organization. And I think when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's also important to remember as employers or business owners, it's also important to note that you want to make sure that if you can adjust the job responsibilities to fit the person instead of making the person always fit the job, I think that's a great place to start.
I think that's very wise, and the idea of that flexibility to actually create and lean into somebody's strengths.
Because then it creates that competitive advantage, and then you can celebrate the fact that you're diversity. So I call it the 3 capital C's, and that starts with creating the culture, and it also starts with celebrating the wins, and then, you know, it allows you to sort of begin the conversation. So it's about creating the culture, creating the conditions, and then celebrating the wins. So you can think of it in the 3 capital C's model that way as well. So.
Yeah, I think that empowering people and to have an opportunity in your organization to be part of an EDI committee where decisions and so on are made with you know, people with lived experience, with people, you know, sometimes you know, equity deserving groups are not represented. I just did a training where it turns out we were doing anti-racism, anti-oppression. I have a group of trainers. I don't do all that by myself, but the black staff were in the kitchen, you know, working while the rest of the, you know, staff. So we need to involve everyone. It needs to be embedded at the top. Your boards, you know, still, you know, we heard about exporting. You know, countries outside of Canada look to Canada and look at our companies and say, there's no gender representation at the top of these organizations, and that changes investment possibilities as well. So, so it is about embedding it at the top, and you know, I hate to use these hierarchical realities, but they are, and involving everyone at the bottom. And if we don't have policies that respond to people who are these unskilled laborers, as we put in quotes, that include like living wages, if we're not supporting to make sure these cultures are allow for, I mean, we know what the pandemic did in terms of not having 10 sick days. You know, this is why we have a labor shortage, because we couldn't be bothered to let people be off sick. And that's a government thing, you know, so businesses, what I'm saying is businesses also, like I know at the Hamilton Chamber, Paul Hawkins, there I had to shout out, you know, we've done some advocacy to the Ontario government around this kind of stuff. You know, you have to also be involved in creating that kind of policy change that really impacts people's lives.
Yeah, and I think in addition to the policy stuff, we need to also consider that interpersonal stuff as well, right? We've all heard that adage that people don't quit jobs, they quit managers or lead managers or whatever it is. I think it's kind of bringing some of those policies down to that interpersonal level where leaders will have the confidence and the time and the ability to have some of these meaningful conversations with their staff, not only just to hear them, but also to act on what some of those desires, some of those needs are, right? I've seen a lot of times where you'll have that disconnect where leadership either isn't talking to the kind of lower down folks, or if they are talking to them, it's kind of just going in one ear and out the other, and no actual change is coming up top, right? And that just kind of makes it not a good place to work and a place that you don't want to stay, right? So it's being able to take that and really take that critical thinking and see, you know, well, if I make these changes, is it really going to be detrimental to the business or the organization? Chances are it's not. A lot of times it's little things. It could be a dress code thing, like letting me wear sweats somewhere. It's not going to change what's coming out in terms of what I produce. It's going to make me feel a lot more comfortable. So those kind of things, right? Or small things that can make a big difference if you don't have, you know, necessarily the resources or the capacity to throw a bunch of money into a certain cause or something.
I'm hearing a lot of stuff about being at the top and the leadership representing. So Mandy, would you be able to maybe share, as a CEO, some of the pieces that you found in your job?
Yeah, I would love to. You know, one of the things that I think is often overlooked is biases that we may have in our hiring process. And this can be a tricky thing because there can be a lot of shaming around that. And I think that if you have an inclusive workplace where we're all going to train on this, and we're all going to actually take the time to look internally and recognize that every single one of us has biases, and to uncover them and to learn about our own biases so that we can make the right decisions, and to be in a workplace where we're not going to judge each other for our biases. We're actually going to support each other so that we can actually achieve our goals, is a really, really important thing. And so at our company, we've got a real culture of love and having each other's back. And that often involves some of our ugly bits, which I think is really important that we share rather than just hide them. It's important to look for that. And then the last comment I wanted to make on this is about asking for feedback. So you might think you're doing a great job because, you tick the box beside training for DEI, or, oh, we had a committee meeting for DEI. But let's actually ask our team the hard questions, like, how are we doing? Is this working? What else can we do? And to have it anonymous so that we can get the real dirt and really dig in on how we can actually keep improving and constantly improving.
Yeah, I like to call that doing the pulse check and really seeing where the organization is at, because you can't make actions in practice if you don't know what your staff wants and needs and how they're actually feeling in the workplace. So I'm actually going to stick with you for a second, and we want to talk about, and there's lots of employers in the room that are these types of employers, but could you give any examples of employers that are doing it right that should be celebrated?
Okay, so I had a list. I did. And then I just realized, you know what, I don't know if I'm just getting like their corporate speak on this. So I thought, I think it's best if I keep my own horn here and actually talk about what it is that we're doing. And what I wanted to talk about was just how obsessive we are with our values. It is truly one of the most important things that we do. It is more important than our bottom line. It's more important than what our customers think. Being obsessive with our values and holding our team to be like that at the highest level. My personal ambition in life is I want to make my team's job the best job of their lives. So how I need to do that is through our values. And I think that is so important. The second thing is about bringing love into the business. So I've mentioned this before, and it's not something that we often mention at business events, but I think that if we were to bring more love into our workplaces and actually work from a place of, wow, we've got these souls who are working with us, how do we actually make this a better place? Is extremely empowering and important, and can impact our community in a rippled effect like no other, I believe. And then the last thing I mentioned in the last comment, which was consistently asking for feedback. I think it is so important that we are constantly monitoring what people think of us and ways to improve.
Thank you. Leland, I know you work with quite a number of different companies. Are there any that you want to shout out about who are doing the right thing?
I mean, it's tough because from the outside, every company wants to be perceived like they're doing the right thing, and you don't often know that it's a shit show until you get inside. It's what it is.
Name those ones.
Yeah, I know, right? Most of them, probably.
We'll be here until Christmas if you do that.
I'll talk about one. I'm not going to name it specifically just because I'm currently working with them, and I haven't spoken to anybody to kind of get permission, I guess, to speak about where they are. They're not at all perfect, but I think one thing, so this is a large financial company. They do billions of dollars of revenue every year. And what I've seen, I kind of went into it saying, okay, big corporate entity, it's going to be a shit show, right? I was pleasantly surprised when I went in there. They have From their C-suite, they've generally embraced a good sense of humility and understanding that, hey, we're not the experts. We don't have the lived experience necessarily on a lot of these different things. So we need to bring in the people with, or the right people with those voices that need to be heard. They're going to they've been empowering their employees. They have a very diverse labor force, and as with most bigger organizations, or a lot of bigger organizations, it gets less and less diverse as you go up. So they're really leaning on their employees and empowering their employees to start employee resource groups, that kind of thing. And they're throwing a ton of money into it, right? So they have a number of employee resource groups. Each one gets funded 6 figures a year, that kind of thing, to do the kind of things that they want. They're given incredible autonomy. They've gone out, they've been seeking some of these voices from places like the Canadian Race Relations Foundation. They talked to me, they talked to others. And so they're looking for that. And in my experience with them, anything that I've said, like, hey, you need to devote money and time and effort to this, they do it right away. There's no issue with it, all the way up to the president, and it's wonderful to see that. Yeah, it's just getting great buy-in from a lot of folks, and understanding that we aren't going to have that lived experience and everything. We're not going to have that expertise and everything, and so really being able to lean on that, I think is something that they're doing really well.
Can I just chime in and say that instead of recognizing specific companies, I'll just simply say that one of the things we had at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce was that you get more done with collaboration. So if you collaborate, and if you're invested as an employer, as Mandy was saying earlier, it also allows you to sort of leverage the experience of the whole staff. And if you're more inclusive and invested in the process of rowing in the same boat of inclusion, a lot gets done faster, because everyone's sort of rowing in a common goal. But it all starts with representation and making sure that leadership positions are diversely filled, so that everyone is represented within a company. So it's about leveraging assets and also being invested in the process as well. So.
Oh, can I say one more? Sorry, I forgot something. Can I jump in?
Jump in.
Thank you. Another thing this company's done is accountability. Right? This is something we often don't see. So very recently, they fired a senior VP for a series of microaggressions. So I went into my kind of bi-weekly meeting with the folks in HR and the people and culture department, and just, hey, has anything big DEI related happened in the past couple weeks? Oh yeah, we fired so-and-so. Okay, talk to me about that. Right? I've worked with a ton of organizations where these people who continually do this kind of stuff have the longest leashes ever. Right? And so this is somebody who's been a senior VP at this company for over a decade. A number of transgressions that were pointed out, and there was just this person was not following through on the continued kind of growth path that had been set out for them, to the point that it said the president was just like, listen, this is not the culture that we want to embody within our organization. We know we're going to get sued by this person. We know we're going to have to pay a pretty hefty severance package, but that's worth it for us. And that was huge for me to hear that from a company, because I see a lot of nodding heads. That's not something that we see very often, and I thought that was amazing. The last straw was when this individual went to go shake a woman's hand, and they shook hands, and he said, "Wow, you have a strong handshake for a woman." Yep, and that was the last straw. And next day, out. Right. So, yeah, it was incredible for me to see that, and that's again, I've worked with a lot of companies, as Jade said, and I've never seen that happen before, where something that is a microaggression. Right? So that's something.
You can Google the top 100 companies that are the best EDI companies in Canada. The Globe and Mail printed that, and so on. Some of you are in the room. I compared the list, so congratulations. And I also think I hope then that those top 100 are in relationship with communities, equity, deserving communities within the communities in which you work, and so on, because I'd say the top employers when it comes to EDI have relationships when it comes to recruitment, and they don't just advertise anymore. You know, people looking for jobs are not just responding. You know, I used to say 10 years ago, I would have been saying, well, if you want to find queer and trans people, you know, be sure to advertise in Extra and all of these other places. They don't exist anymore. I mean, a little bit online, no offense, Extra, I know you're around. You know, but it's a different kind of thing, so it's not about that. So like I'm carrying I happen to have another hat where I work for an Anglican bishop and do a lot of faith work, but I always say this is my new sacred text. These are the truth and reconciliation calls to action. I also have the calls for justice from the murder and missing Indigenous women. Companies come to me and say, we wish we could hire more Indigenous people. Why can't we find any Indigenous people? Well, because you're not in relationship. You're in a community where you have the Hamilton Regional, it's still Indian Center. We have all kinds of, and all of your communities across Canada also have these. Be in relationship, yeah. And don't buy into the myths that, for example, people that are disabled don't work. They don't want to work. 60% of people on ODSP, for example, that are working and want to work more, but again, the policies work against them. So be sure that you're building relationships, even at the social assistance office. Like know the OW workers in your community and the ODSP workers. You will find people that you will be able to give an opportunity to, and lots of them will be overrepresented: Indigenous, Black, people of color, and so your BIPOC community and the queer and trans folks will be in those numbers. Yeah.
So
relationship.
I'm hearing the importance of action, of actually putting your money where your mouth is, of accountability, and the importance of actually taking action about those parts of your company where there's a little bit of rot going on, and that rot ends up souring people from staying and creates some serious problems, and then make sure that you're in relationship as well. So I am aware of the time, so I may combine the next question with the final question, just so that we have time for Q&A from the audience. So we have time for a couple questions, but only a couple.
I'll take a pass on my answer to allow for more participation if you want. But anyway, what are the next two questions?
We have a virtual question from someone in the chat. Okay. So what are 3 actions any businesses that want to become more inclusive can implement as a first step within the workplace?
Perfect.
Who wants to go first? Go for it, Kevin. Well, I think if you're a business, first of all, you have to make the commitment to wanting to do it. So that means that you have to, within your culture, you can make it a part of your organizational policy. And when you put on the end of a job posting, we're an equal opportunity employer. Well, put that into action by making sure that you recruit to the people that you're trying to entice to work for your company. And one thing I wanted to say before I turn it over to the other panelists is make sure when you're recruiting and even when you're interviewing the person that is going for the job, make sure that you sell positions to the person that you're wanting to fill, and sell the company to that person and start the conversation on how you can use this partnership as a way to leverage your competitive advantage as a company. So that's where I would start.
Know who works for you would be a good thing also. Like I think surveying, know who works for you, know who, because this is about, customers, clients. It's also, and this panel is about labor shortage and so on. But, recognize some gaps first, and that would help. And then once you have some data, I already mentioned earlier about involving the people that are that do work for you. And if you don't have, if it's not a, I know these are small to medium businesses, and so if you you're going to be in those relationships already, and you're going to reach out to some of those other communities that you have relationships with, and bring them in to help support the work.
Yeah, I think building on that, right? Just having those conversations, building those connections. And if you don't have those connections necessarily in-house, because you're a smaller, medium-sized company that is trying to improve their diversity, right? Bring in some of those external voices. You know, come to some of the folks who are in this room or who are on this panel. You know, if you're having trouble hiring black people, go find a black consultant who deals with this kind of thing, and we'll talk about it with you, right? Find people from those equity-seeking groups and have those those conversations with them. Create those partnerships, those bonds. And most important, pay the people too. Pay the people. We're not free.
Yeah.
It's emotional labor, it's physical labor, all this kind of stuff. So seek out those people from those equity-seeking groups or equity-deserving groups and pay them for their insight.
And one final point I wanted to make on this issue too, especially for small and medium-sized businesses, is that there are organizations that we call service providers in the business in inclusive employment that work specifically with folks with disabilities and other marginalized groups to help them find and locate employment. So make sure you also leverage the community assets within your community, because they're all across the country and all across Ontario about those what we call service provider groups that help folks with disabilities work and find work as well. So leverage your community assets.
Great. Mandy, do you want to respond as well, or?
You bet, I'll jump in. I totally agree that hiring a consultant was a big help for us, especially to uncover those biases that I spoke about. It helped direct us. And then also what Kevin said is, you know, make this a commitment, because you're going to have so many things pop up in the work. You're going to have all these fires that just need to be put out today, and DEI is going to take a back seat, which often happens. And that's what is the worst thing that can happen is you say you're going to do something and then it just kind of peters out. So it's making that commitment to make sure that this will always be on your radar. It is extremely important, and if you need accountability partners on it, there's lots of people out there who can help you with that as well.
So get outside support is definitely a need. So maybe let's talk about that. Where do you get support? Where should employers go? Leland, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I guess as we've kind of talked about a little bit, depends on what you're looking for, but there's a ton of kind of organizations, foundations out there. This being one of them, obviously. But you have like the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. You can look to that as well. You can look at the Canadian Race Relations Foundation. Again, you can come to probably any of us. We may not have the right answers for you, but we can certainly point you in the right direction. So I think those are great places to start.
EGAL, it's a human rights organization, but their resources are just really up to date, and they will answer a lot of questions without having to go outside. And it's good for you to know language both in your head and your heart. I love the message of love that's coming across the Zoom so much, and to me, the reason I call what I do queer positive power is because these are really tough conversations, but you have to be able to come back to them the next day when they don't go well. And you can't walk away, I will walk away angry sometimes, but you have to be able to come back. And so you have to hold them in this kind of a space that maybe doesn't always seem congruent with the kind of business talk that you're having. And so I think that's where you want someone who's really good at facilitating conversations. Facilitate meaning to make easy, make this a bit smoother. I think that's going to help.
Yeah, and I would simply say, before I tell you about the organization that I'm here to tell you about today, is I wanted to share just a little bit about my personal story. So I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia. Cerebral palsy simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this work is I found out at the age of 9, actually, that I wouldn't be able to walk for the duration of my life without assistance. And I credit my middle school principal, Dr. Carol Cruelly for sort of changing the direction of my life, because, you know, I found out the day before I was starting my 4th year of elementary school, and after I had come back from the hospital, at Times Valley Children's Hospital, I went to Dr. Cruelly's office, and I had told her what the doctor had told myself and my parents the day before I started school. And she looked at me and she said, the only limitations on your life are the artificial ones that you place on yourself. So what I wanted to end with was, you have the opportunity to sort of lift the artificial expectation or perception by allowing yourself to think outside of the box and include folks with disabilities and other marginalized groups, and really start the conversation of acceptance in the workplace. You know, one of the mottos that I live my life by is that inclusion is the gateway to independence, and you can't be independent if you're not included. And, you know, from personal experience, I know what it's like to live on ODSP, or $865 a month through ODSP. So it's important for you to think outside your comfort zone and really use this as an opportunity to leverage the untapped market, as I said before, and really elevate the conversation around inclusion.
Thank you. Mandy, anybody that you suggest people should go and...
Oh, sorry. One. I forgot the organization that I was supposed to tell you about. So I am here representing what's called the Discoverability Network, which is the province of Ontario's first online job matching portal. So if you're a job seeker with a disability, you go on the website, you create a profile, and you're instantly matched with employers that want to hire folks with disabilities. And obviously, if you're an employer, you're matched with job seekers who are looking for work. It's completely free for any of you across the country who want to use the website, even if you don't live in Ontario and you want to use the resources. It's a completely free resource, and it also provides you a roadmap to hiring, so the questions you can ask to make a job interview more inclusive, how to incorporate folks with disabilities into the workforce, would you hire them, and there are also training and success videos on there. So it's the Discoverability Network, and if you have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer any you might have. So, sorry, Mandy, I forgot, so now it's over to you. So.
Oh, good.
Love it, Kevin. It was beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I use a CEO peer network. So there's a group of 10 of us. We're all CEOs. It's a confidential group, and it's in a forum like that where I share a lot of what's going on. We all share our stories. We share our successes and our failures, and I've found that has been instrumental in keeping us on track, and also learning kind of the do's and don'ts around DEI. It's been really helpful, and it's something that, you know what, you could all set up immediately today. Look around the room and say, hey, do you want to start up a peer group? Let's do it. Let's meet once a month. Super easy to do.
Yeah, I'm in a nonprofit leaders group, and it's one of the most effective things in terms of figuring out the challenges is being with your peers. So I think that's really important. So I'm getting the potential pull off the stage. So for our final question, because we started late, with Mandy, what one call to action would you like everyone to take away today?
I would love to ask everyone to look at your fears as to why are you afraid to do this? What is it that is holding you back? Is it that you're afraid to use the wrong pronoun with someone? is it that you're afraid to use the wrong term for Indigenous or First Nations? And to really look at your fears and talk about them with someone, and hopefully you can get over them, because I do believe that fear holds us back.
And I would simply say embrace your empowerment to make a difference. You know, I talked earlier about pulling out a chair at the table of inclusion, and you all have the power and the objective willpower to put all of that into action. So embrace the sense of empowerment that you have to make a meaningful difference.
You know, this is a message for the allies in the room to dig into that also, and for those of us who, I'm an ally to cisgender, to trans people, I mean, as a cis person, to people who are differently abled and so on. And so I think all of us, that's what I want to say, all of us as allies need then to deepen in our relationship as being an accomplice, which is from the Latin to fold together, that we come in and really lean into to take our space as an ally. It isn't always wearing a button and walking in a parade and walking beside someone. Sometimes it's walking behind, sometimes it's walking ahead, and you can only do that if you're in relationship. And that's what I think it means to really deepen that role of an ally, to become an accomplice. So I actually know my role, when my voice is needed and when I should shut up, which is now.
I like that. Keep playing that. Mine's simple, I think. Go read a book. A book or watch a documentary or something about a group that you don't identify with. You know, a book written by somebody different than you, a documentary about somebody who's from a different group than you, right? Once you get on Netflix, Prime, those kind of things, those algorithms will start getting a little funky. You'll start going down some rabbit holes. And that's when you just start learning stuff. You know, I think it's a super interesting way to kind of go about this work, especially if you don't necessarily, if you kind of have that fear that Mandy talks about, if you don't want to necessarily go through this face-to-face with somebody, that could be a nice way of doing that and maybe getting some of that foundational knowledge to feel comfortable speaking about some of these issues.
Thank you. So I'm hearing the importance of addressing your fear, of making sure that you're in relationship, that you go read a book or get out there, you connect with amazing organizations like the Discoverability Network and more. I'm taking so much away from this panel, and I hope and think that our audience is too, as I'm seeing some nodding heads and smiling faces. So grateful to have all of you here today with us, and more conference to go.
Thanks for your leadership.
Thank you, everybody on the panel, and Mandy, thank you for zooming in the very last minute. Thank you from BC. This was a great panel. This was awesome. There was a lot of takeaways from it, so very much appreciated. So the plan now, just before I get to that, and you don't have to identify yourself to the whole group, but someone who's staying in room 408 at the Delta dropped their room key. So if you want your room key, I have it in my pocket.
Which room did they leave it in?
They left it in, they left it in the lunchroom. I don't know what that means. So we now are going to have a break for 15 minutes, and then in 15 minutes, if you can head to your workshops. If you are wanting to attend Queering the Workplace, that's going to be back here in the Bellevue. If you want to do Breaking Down Roadblocks in DE&I, that's going to be in the Crawford. Again, that's on the first floor of the hotel, for those of you who hadn't been down there yet. And in the Junction, which is also on the first floor, is your Ready to Go Global. So those three workshops will start in 15 minutes, and in the meantime, enjoy the break.